Before running off to bed, I'd like to pick up a point that somebody's made. Lol Walters 2936 says, and I'm talking about Farage and the traditions that Farage honours, the ugly tradition Farage honours. Is this the same Tim Wilson who was more recently speaking of Connolly as a free speech martyr and pouring scorn on the sentence she received? Or maybe it's a deep fake AI. Is Tim now being held in the Smeg fridge with Vlad? No, I'm not in the Smeg fridge. The Smeg fridge is over there. But and equally, I've never called Lucy Connolly a free speech martyr. And I think it's important. I think my position is intellectually defensible and morally thoughtful, precisely because it acknowledges nuance. Lucy Connolly crossed a legal line. Her prosecution and conviction for inciting racial hatred was, legally speaking, justified. What is absurd is the continued imprisonment of Lucy Connolly when far more dangerous individuals, violent offenders, sex attackers, serial burglars, are routinely released early or not imprisoned at all because the prisons are full. So, the criminal justice system rests on the principle that punishment must be proportionate to the harm posed to the public. Connolly's post, while vile, did not physically harm anyone. By contrast, offenders convicted of actual violence, assault or domestic abuse are often sentenced to far fewer than 31 months or released early because of prison overcrowding. The parole board frequently releases individuals convicted of violent crimes on the basis that they are low risk or rehabilitated despite serious past behaviour. To continue imprisoning Connolly while releasing far greater threats reveals a fundamental incoherence in sentencing logic and the prison system. The key question is post-conviction. The key question in post-conviction incarceration is this: does the offender pose an ongoing risk to the public? And the Crown Prosecution Service and judges accepted that Connolly's words incited a dangerous situation in the moment that justified prosecution, but that risk is no longer active. She is not a gang member, not a terrorist or a serial offender. There's no indication she has tried to repeat or escalate her actions. And when contrasted to an MP who assaults one of his own constituents, who hits that constituent not once but 6 times when his back is turned, and then only spends 3 days in prison because the judge on appeal concludes that he has learned his lesson, it's not consistent. If the justice system now accepts that she has learned her lesson, continued imprisonment is not a safeguarding measure. It becomes gratuitous punishment. I don't see there's any contradiction in what I'm saying here, by the way. Prison is not meant to be eternal retribution. The state claims to pursue rehabilitation. If Connolly has completed programs, shown contrition, accepted the consequences of her actions, then release becomes the logical next step. Prolonged incarceration undercuts the idea that people can reform. It replaces moral development with institutional vengeance. And there's a darker undercurrent here. Lucy Connolly, though rightly convicted, has become a lightning rod for ideological performance, and some on the right have cast her as a heroine of free speech. She is not, I have not. But equally, some on the liberal left wish to keep her locked away as a symbol of what must never be said, a kind of secular heresy. The justice system should not perform cultural politics by proxy. It should not be a system that is dominated by popularity. It must apply the law evenly, not use prison as some sort of totemic statement. The UK prison population is at crisis level. Courts are under pressure to reduce sentencing lengths for all but the most dangerous, and even the Lord Chief Justice has warned that prisons are now operating as long-term holding pens for those who are easiest to detain, not necessarily the most dangerous. And Connolly's continued incarceration is not about public safety, it's about political signalling and bureaucratic inflexibility. So her imprisonment may have been initially justified, I think it was, but that she is she's not a free speech martyr. And it's equally reasonable to say that her continued incarceration, while others who represent a clear and present threat walk free, or others who have friends in Parliament walk free, that's a contradiction of both legal principle and moral common sense. She broke the law, she was punished, and the law must not now break itself in order to keep her punished beyond reason.